Huh. Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Oh, that's great.
Awesome. Cool,
Oh,
cool.
awesome. No, that looks great. Okay, so I just sent you a deck and I want you to tell me what else you want me to add in terms of
Okay.
photos and or I can share the screen.
I loved it. It looks good. I think
Okay,
it's done. It's
is
good.
that's the order? Is that good?
I think that's good. Because I think that it's 8 minutes, so I'm gonna like move through things fairly quickly, you
Okay.
know. You know, so I feel like the slides will probably be part of my first two sentences, as I'm kind of introducing the heart meditation.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Brad,
Yeah.
do you know Veronica?
Oh
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Do I know Veronica?
Oh, sorry. Wait a second. Hey, Brad.
Hi.
Hi.
So good to see
Hey.
you.
Yeah. Really looking forward to this.
Me too. Really appreciative because I think this is really timely and perfect. Hi, Lance.
Hi, Lance. Nice to see you for the first time. Oh, Lance, I think you're muted. Let's see. I'm going to unmute you. I'm going to make you all co-hosts. Lance, can you talk?
Yes, testing 1, 2, 3, test.
Great. Okay. Oh, I'm enjoying your background as well with your shirt. Was that planned?
Oh, just one of those random things that happened.
Okay. You're like the most coordinated person I've ever seen with their Zoom background.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
So just I know I've spoken with you each individually, but basically in terms of the flow, Brad will kick things off and then he'll introduce Veronica and then Veronica. So just in terms of timing of the slides, when do you want Brad to show you the slide or to go through the slides?
I think that maybe definitely before I'm going to do a heart meditation, and I guess we can decide now what slide you want to show during that meditation. Maybe that's the hand drawing one.
Wait, is Veronica frozen right now or is it just me?
It's just you.
Oh no, doesn't bode well. Okay.
And because what I'm thinking for me is that I'm gonna,
she is frozen. She is frozen for me too.
Okay, good.
Sorry, guys.
Okay.
No, it makes me feel better because otherwise the whole presentation could be in jeopardy. Although it's still bad for us because it would still be the whole presentation in jeopardy.
Wait, give me one second. Sorry if I'm frozen. I'm fixing it.
Okay. So anyway, okay.
I can hear you guys. I'm sorry if I'm frozen. I think
okay, that's fine. It's actually a great like frozen photo. If you were going to be frozen, like it's actually incredible. Like I usually am like my face is like in weird positions. You look great.
Okay. Let me get back to you guys and see.
Okay. So I'm thinking, Brad, it might be what might be nice in terms of a flow is that, you do the introduction and maybe so that you're on this page, you introduce Veronica, then either, Brad, you stop sharing and so that we can all see Veronica's voice, she can, say a bit. Then you go back to the slides to show her her drawings, or we just decide to keep the drawings, have her go through the drawings, and then you exit out of that for the drawing meditation.
Wait.
What do you think is better?
Sorry, let me just 1 second here. Please about something really quickly.
And then I don't know if this might be helpful information to offer. Is for my drawing meditation, I'm going to have everyone make a basic handprint of their hand on a paper, and that's going to be our drawing meditation. And we're going to write the words radical imagination on there. And then we're going to do 2 drawing activations. And one is we're going to actually hold, and I can even show you because I have copies, and it might just help. Is, you know, so we're all going to do this, and we're going to actually just, I'm going to have everyone kind of hold their hand to their heart. And then also to close it out, I'm going to invite everyone to kind of hold their hands up and wish Breonna Taylor a happy birthday. And I think that I want to really end it with just us remembering Breonna Taylor. You know, so I just to kind of help you format, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Brad, are you there? Can you focus for a second?
I'm just trying to get the presentation up again, but yes, I'm here.
Okay. So at the beginning, after you introduce Veronica, the question is, do you want to exit full screen or exit the screen share and have Veronica, you know, just say something and then pull up the slides again to take her so that she can go through the drawings? Or do you want to just keep the drawings?
Well, so how does, I'm the one, who's going through the drawings, me or Veronica? Who's
Not
going to?
you. No.
Veronica will have this, she'll be controlling the deck.
Oh, no, I think you should go through.
I know, so that's the part I'm most.
Well, no, that's what I'm trying to figure out right now. Okay, sorry, that's what I want you to focus.
So, tell me what happens with the slides.
Okay.
How do I know?
That's what I know, that's what I'm trying to get to. So Veronica, like after Brad introduces you, what is like the timing on the slides?
I think maybe I think it's the first like 30 seconds in, you know, I should be, or a minute in, I should be, you know, walking people through the heart meditation. And we can
okay.
I'm gonna say my art practice is, you know, I'm gonna just talk about my art practice. And then I think that the slides, I would like maybe my slides to get, you know, rotated as I'm kind of talking about my practice. And then for the heart meditation, it'll be a meditation and everyone will be sitting with their hands and, you know, I'll be talking them through the meditation. So you can choose whatever screen you want for that. I recommend maybe the hand one is a nice one to sit with as we're meditating. And then for the drawing activation.
So I'll flip them.
Yeah.
I'll just make that one the last one.
Cool. And then for the drawing for the activation, like when we're out of our meditation, I think it would be at some point when I want to do the drawing activation, when I say, oh, I want to invite everyone to do an activation, I think it would be helpful if they can see me. Can you see me right now, Dara? If they can see me kind of really holding my hand, drawing, and just, I really want us to kind of hold our hands to our hearts.
Yeah.
So maybe exit after the hand one while people are drawing that, and then after they've drawn it, then you would exit the screen share, Brad. Does that make sense?
Yep. And so, so we have to change the deck, but I guess one of my questions is.
You just have to refresh it. I already changed it.
I know, but I can't just, it's just not just refreshing. I have to actually close out. But I guess my main question here is there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like, 4 slides.
Hmm.
Do you want, and you're just, are you going to be talking about each slide and I'll know when to go on to the next? Or you want me to kind of like, over the course of a certain amount of time, just feel it?
Yeah, that would be awesome. Awesome. And then when we are going to start we start our heart meditation, that's when you know we should be at our last slide.
Oh, and the last slide being the hand slide.
Yeah, which I've switched.
How long, because I'm just trying to do the math for myself. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe 5 slides.
I guess you can count 5 seconds, or I don't know.
No, but how long do I have to go through these slides?
Only, you know, like I said, you're going to be following my voice and following my story, and it's going to be very quickly because we need to move into the meditation, and the meditation is going to be about 2 or 3 minutes.
So sorry, last question then. Are you referring to the things on the slide?
Yeah, as a backdrop to say that I have traumatic experiences growing up, and this is the work that comes from a result of it. You know, so my story and my artwork, it's almost like I'm sharing a family album. So you're kind of showing the artwork as I'm telling my personal story.
Yeah, but it's not specifically tied to one piece. It's not like she's going to be like Trayvon Martin, blah, blah, blah. She's just
that's my question. That's my question.
Okay.
So I just have to adjust like,
yeah, and if you
these over a course of about like a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Yeah.
All right, great.
Yeah.
That's all I want to know. Okay, perfect.
Okay, and then maybe it would be nice. So Veronica, I'm trying actually right now to find the bio that we had in that grant, and I'm having where like Brad can talk about all the work you've done with Reimagine.
Yeah.
If I can't find it, I think it would be good for you to just mention that at the beginning. And is that okay? Can you spend like just to say that you've hosted well, I mean, Brad, you can just mention it, that she's hosted
that would be great
events
if Brad can do it
with like in a lot of different communities for Reimagine.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna post.
And then also, so specifically, Derek, just with Mercy Housing, with if we can just maybe a list of some of the organizations that we've
Mercy Housing, Naiad Art Center, Boys and Girls Club.
Okay, and I'm sorry, Lance, that we. So basically, so I just sent it to you, Brad, and I'm pasting his bio as well. So Lance, basically after Veronica does her thing, then Brad will jump back on, and then he'll introduce you, and then you'll go, and then he'll jump back on and thank you, and then we'll do breakouts, and then, as you know, you're welcome to stay on and join one or jump off if necessary. But that's the flow. And I'm sorry, Lance, that we got.
No, I want to talk to Lance, but now I guess we're going to just talk.
Well, we just have to go.
We're going to talk. No, in general, I just want to say hi to Lance. Hi, Lance.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Lance. Also, really nice to meet you too.
Nice to meet you both.
Really grateful for you to be here, and really looking forward to hearing your words today.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Great. Okay, I'm going to admit everyone.
All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Friday's Dose of Togetherness. Great to see you as we're moving into the weekend. Really ready for today's session with you all, because it's I feel like much needed, and just we're grateful to be here. If you're just joining us, it's obviously been a hard week, and it would be nice if you shared where you're calling in from on the chat, and maybe a word about just how you're feeling right now. So again, if you're just joining us, where you're calling in from vis-a-vis the chat, and one word that describes, or a sentence or a phrase that describes just where you're at right now. Yeah, thank you, Regina from Colorado is drained. Brittany's nervous. Feeling a lot. Yeah, there's a lot going on in all of our hearts, in our minds, in our bodies. Sarah, welcome from India today. Janice, grieving in Chicago. Yep. Hi, Deborah, Elizabeth. It's really identifying with all these feelings that people are posting in the chat. Yeah, it's it's good to hear that everyone is feeling. In some ways, it's good to hear that almost the solidarity of feeling that I'm seeing in the chat right now. So hopefully today, by being with each other, by being together, we can just hold space for ourselves in this really hard moment. But welcome, yes, to today's Dose of Togetherness, an initiative that is co-created by Reimagine and the Greater Good Science Center at UC Berkeley. My name is Brad Wolf, and I'm the founder and executive director of Reimagine. Now, Reimagine's purpose, as many of you know, is to explore and really face the hardest parts of life, including serious illness and death and grief, and how looking at those things changes the way that we might live our own lives. I myself just only was able to bring my own sense of courage to watch the video a couple days ago, and I feel so many of the feelings before then. And I think one thing that we say at Reimagine is that in facing death, we begin to live fully. And I just want to acknowledge that it makes me really also kind of angry that that is true, that that's what it takes. And I feel angry kind of for our culture, and sad, and also on my own behalf, inside myself, feeling that same sense of some sense of, honestly, shame personally, that watching that video did honestly move me to a new place of realization about what's happening in our country. And it makes me sad that only in facing that have I personally seen that so clearly, even though it's been there all the time. And so, you know, Reimagine's commitment, our hope in general, is to try to put these things in our minds, even when they're not top of mind, to think about death, to think about these things, to inspire us to action, even when we don't have to go through a tragedy. So I think it's our commitment, and I hope we're going to work together on this, that as time passes, and maybe as this moment, the palpable energy fades, that together we will continue to put this moment and what we've seen and what can never be taken back, to not forget that, and to really keep pushing always for what I'm hoping comes out of this moment. So thank you for sharing in that, and just my heart goes out to the Black people and brown people in this country who have died and suffered at the hands of our own society. It doesn't feel right to follow that up with saying thank you to sponsors, but that's the next slide. Thank you so much to everyone who supports this, what we're doing together, and being here. It's really because of the support of organizations like this that we can hold this space. And so we're very much appreciative of all of your support, and that of our sponsors. Now, big thank you to Dara, also, Dara Cosberg, who put this great program together, and all these programs. So she's also teaching us some things about Zoom. Of course, if you have comments or questions, please share them in the chat. That's your place to share with one another, until we get to the breakout sessions at the end, at which point we're going to invite you to turn off your mute button and turn on your microphone. And if you're calling in, to dial *6, and you'll be able to hear one another. And honestly, if you can, I see a lot of folks, I can't see your faces today. If you're able to turn on your screens at some point, and that feels comfortable for you, we totally welcome seeing your just bright human faces. Thank you so much.
Brad?
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I just want to call out, I put a note in the chat for everyone that you should have a piece of paper ideally unlined, but lined is fine. Really any kind of piece of paper that would fit your hand, and a pen or pencil. That would be great, because today is going to have a drawing meditation.
Thank you, Dara, for that reminder. So if everyone, if you feel free to take a second to grab that, this is the perfect moment. With that said, I'm really delighted to introduce the person that's going to lead us in a grounding meditation, in this drawing meditation today, who's become a friend of mine, but also is a huge friend and contributor to Reimagine. Her work as an artist and a human has been really unparalleled in her participation and impact she's made with us. Veronica DeJesus, much of her work reflects on loss and how it plays out over time. She's had solo shows in New York City, Atlanta, Los Angeles, San Francisco, and her works have been featured in publications all around the world. She has a BFA from San Francisco Art Institute and a MFA from UC Berkeley. She's recently had a solo exhibition at Berkeley Art Museum, which included 239 memorial drawings. And her story is also really powerful. I look forward to sharing a lot more about her in a follow-up email, but she's really worked with us to focus on underserved communities or underrepresented communities, communities of color, senior centers, folks who haven't had access to some of our programs. Veronica has been able to, with us, to really lead and be with groups of people who are greatly benefited from this relationship between art and grief and loss. And so really delighted, Veronica, to have you here with us today again, just appreciative. So take it away.
Thank you so much, Brad. And I hope everyone can hear me okay. And I feel so blessed to be here with Reimagine and with everyone through this very, difficult and trying times. And I'm happy that my art practice can participate in the sharing and in the support. So my art practice, as Brad was saying, is built around a lot of loss and trauma. And I think that when I was growing up, we were my dad was severely marginalized, and we ended up having to run from the law, and I have had a lot of experiences with loss growing up. And it's led me to doing a lot of drawing work, a lot of work that surrounds around ceremony, around meditation, around prayer and ritual, and kind of finding ways to find the joyous moments through those difficult losses that we have to endure. And I'm hopeful that we can just continue to find the joy through creative practice and through this, today we're going to be, walking through a heart meditation. But before we do, as Brad is showing some of my memorial drawings, they're just, work that I do that helps me through my own grief. And I'm just sharing it, sharing the process with you. And so, so for this heart meditation, it's a way for me to kind of connect with my hard feelings. And I want to maybe use this as an opportunity, that slide that Brad is showing is my brother who has hydrocephalus. And we were running from the law, and my brother was in and out of hydrocephalus surgeries and, in and out of surviving almost death, while we were running, because my dad was severely marginalized as a Puerto Rican person, human. So I've developed this practice on meditation and reflection just to kind of survive and also thrive and find that joy. What we're going to do today is, this is a private thing that I do, and it's always been part of my practice. And this is just one meditation that we're going to do. And what we're going to do is just, you can just hear my voice. And if you don't do meditations a lot, that's fine. But everyone's going to close their eyes, and we're going to take a, feet planted, get into a nice, comfortable position. And we're just gonna take a deep breath in and out. And so as I was sharing in my practice is that, you know, I'm living through trauma and I'm finding the joy through trauma. And I know that we're going through trauma right now as we're enduring all these, you know, terrible racisms and inequalities and injustices. And I really want to open the space and ask and invite people during this heart meditation to spend time with the words, I can't breathe. So as you're closing your eyes, deep breath in, using your creativity and your imagination, I want you to just imagine your heart inside yourself. And then I want you to just imagine a doorway into your heart. And we're gonna just enter your heart. You're gonna enter your own heart. You can see steps. If you need an elevator, you know, and just go ahead and just find your way into your heart. Paying attention to your breath. And this heart meditation was introduced to me by a good friend of mine, shaman healer Lily Wolfsong. So as you're here inside your heart, and we're just kind of supporting kind of maybe the hard feelings, but also kind of finding maybe some creativity and some joy and some peace with our breath. And here in this space inside your heart, I just want you to maybe, if there's any messages that you want to receive while you're here. And trust that anything that's coming while you're in this space, just accept it. And then as you're ready and you've received everything that you want to receive, and this could be a continual practice every day. So when you're ready, we're going to go ahead and exit the heart. You're going to just find that elevator that you created for yourself for the steps. And then go ahead and just make your way out. And then we're going to just slowly open our eyes. And we're going to grab that piece of paper. And we're going to just kind of grab a pen. And you're going to just, with your pen, you're going to just really just make a tracing of your hand on that paper. And I invite you to just, as you're just leaving the meditation and you're making your hand-drawn trace on this paper, right? And then right after you're done with the tracing, I invite everyone to write the words, radical imagination. Okay. So go ahead and write the words, radical imagination. Okay. And then when you're ready, we're going to do 2 drawing activations. Okay. So as everyone's writing radical imagination with your hand-drawn print that you've traced, I invite everyone to take it and go ahead and place the paper with the words radical imagination. Hold it to your heart. You know, you can even close your eyes and, you know, think about your heart meditation. Think about the words, I can't breathe, and how it sits with you, and just allow for that. And just hold your heart and activate that drawing that you just made. And then the final drawing activation that I invite everyone to do is, I want you to just hold that one hand-drawn that you just did with radical imagination. I want you to hold it up because it's Breonna Taylor's birthday today, and I want to say to her and her family that we remember her and we love her and her life mattered. Awesome. And that's my dose of togetherness.
Thank you, Veronica. That is so special. And thank you everyone for holding up your hands in a spirit of this radical imagination. There, oh. One thing to note about Zoom is you'll notice when you look at your own screen, you'll see yours backwards, but everyone else's looks correct.
And I wanted to also close by inviting everyone to, you know, this is a different way to think about drawing. And I invite everyone to maybe use this in your daily practice. You know, make a hand-drawn trace of your hand and hold it to your heart. You know, let's take care of ourselves because our lives matter. Black lives matter. Thank you. Thank you, Brad. Thank you, Dara and Reimagine.
Yes, if please, everyone, if you can in the chat, if you wanted to share some gratitude to Veronica for what you're feeling from her practice, that would be nice to see how that feels for everyone. And I'm very excited now also to introduce our next speaker, Lance Weiler. Lance is a professor of professional practice at Columbia University School of the Arts, where he is jointly appointed in film and theater. He is the co-founder of the School of the Arts Digital Storytelling Lab, and since 2013 has served as its director, leading and shaping the lab's vision and programming. And it feels real. You're going to hear in a few minutes why we've invited Lance and why it feels so right as we think about themes around empathy today and the themes that Veronica was just sharing. So thank you, Lance, for being here. We're very grateful to have you.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you very much for having me. It's my honor and pleasure to be here. Veronica, that was wonderful. Thank you for that. So I'm a storyteller. I've been a storyteller for over 25 years. And I think I started working on a project that I think was a story that I was afraid to tell or didn't want to tell or didn't know how to tell. And that story was aided, or I would say the inciting incident for that story came from a very, very difficult moment in my life, a very challenging moment for my family. Came at a time where my father was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share that inciting incident. I'm going to share that story, and I'm going to share what came from that story. What transpired was my dad didn't really necessarily communicate very well. You know, I think it was probably because he didn't want to worry us. He had had cancer before and had never told us. But then when it kind of came back and he was pushing it off, my wife had convinced him to go. I remember it was a Thanksgiving, and he kept getting up and walking to the bathroom, and my wife came and said, I think there's something wrong with your father. I think he's throwing up in the bathroom, you know. And from there, we talked with him and eventually convinced him that he should go to the doctor. So when he went to the doctor, they found a tumor that they ended up removing through surgery, a tumor that was about the size of a softball from his colon. And then there was a moment that was really pivotal that he didn't communicate to us. He made it sound like everything with the surgery was fine and it didn't breach and there was no need for further treatment. And lo and behold, there was, and it came back with a vengeance about, maybe a year later. So at that point in time, my mom was incredibly overwhelmed with the situation, and she didn't want to go with him when he was going to get his diagnosis. And so my wife and I went with my dad, and I'll never forget, like, we went to this space and we kind of came in and it just felt like, you know, it was really a really very difficult situation. You know, we were kind of making our way through the space, and I'll never forget, like, being in the waiting room, and it was very drab. It was cold, and we were the only ones in there. And they gave my dad a form to fill out, and the form had been photocopied so many different times it was kind of hard to read. And the woman who was behind the desk was on the phone with someone, and she was just having a conversation. It wasn't necessarily related to she was talking to a colleague, but it was a very casual kind of conversation. And at a certain point, we walked up and we asked. So my wife asked some questions about the form, and the woman behind the desk was kind of annoyed. And then we finally were able to kind of get the form filled out for my father. And then he was kind of ushered in and, poked and prodded and weighed and so forth and so on. And then kind of we were all ushered into a room that had no windows. And we sat and we waited and we waited and we waited. And then the doctor came in, and she was very kind of rushed. She came in and she sat down, she had her computer out, and she was really very focused on her computer most of the time, kind of like this, and then occasionally would look up. And she started to explain to my father what the reality was, and my dad couldn't comprehend it, and he kept asking when the treatment would take the cancer away. And he just wasn't retaining the fact that she was saying that he was basically terminal, and she was giving him, 6 months to live. And so we were asking a bunch of questions, because I would have to go back and tell my brothers and my mom what had transpired. And there was a moment where it was like the more questions I asked, the deeper the medical speak got, and the thicker, and it became harder and harder to understand what was actually being conveyed. And at a certain point, the doctor stopped, and she sighed, and she said, "I guess I'm going to have to work through lunch." And then she answered my questions. And that statement just cut so deep. It was at this moment where my dad was finding out how long he had to live. It was in this moment where we were really kind of overwhelmed with the whole situation. And so at the tail end, she gets up, and I thank her for her time. And then we leave, and I'm at the desk checking my dad out. And she comes over and she apologizes to me. And she says, I'm really sorry. Sometimes we just get so caught up in what we're doing. It's one patient after the next patient after the next patient. And she apologized. I left that situation thinking there has to be some other way to be able to convey those stories. There has to be some way that we can connect, and there has to be, how can you have empathy? Because the one thing that I was struck by is when we finally left and we walked out, we toured where he was going to get the chemotherapy, and that's where the most life was. That was where the most, you could, the people who were there getting it were more kind of receptive and were welcoming to my dad. But when I left, I just wondered how could that, how could that empathy come into a healing space? And I think some of these systemic issues that we're facing, what we're looking at right now, the byproduct of a group of fellow officers just standing by and not doing anything, is a direct byproduct by being desensitized to the job that you do and having a lack of empathy, or being able to, even distance yourself from the moment that you find yourself within. And so whether it's in health, whether it's in law enforcement, wherever it is, in these systems that we have, we're all humans. But I think something happens where you just get caught in the grind of what it is, and you don't think about that person who's in front of you, right? And so I left that exchange and became really determined to try to find a way to tell a story. And at the same time, I wanted to talk to my dad about his illness, and he had struggled to even communicate with us about it. The only way I was able to really ever talk to my dad, he was of a different generation. The emotional intelligence wasn't quite there the same way that I hoped it would be. But if I interviewed him, he basically would answer anything I asked. And so he invited me to interview him. And over the last year of his life, we started having conversations on a regular basis. We always did, but these were deeper conversations. And I started recording them. And out of that, it struck this unlikely kind of collaboration. And we started creating a project together, which is called Where There's Smoke, I'll be doing a virtual performance of it next week in 2 special sections here as a part of Reimagine, one on the 11th and one on the 14th. And what that project became, it ended up becoming this amazing kind of installation. It started as a 1,400 square foot installation where you would make your way through the space, and you moved through an interaction with another person that was a stranger, and then 4 people would go into this room that had been burned out by a fire. And you would start to interact with these objects that were kind of magical. And they had what's known as the Internet of Things technology in them. And so all of a sudden you would pick up an object and the room would change, and it would start telling you stories, and you would start seeing images of slides, and you would hear my father talking. And so that project went through, and around the same time, I had been in conversations with the narrative medicine program at Columbia University, which is led by Dr. Rita Sharon. And what they do is they bring storytelling into care, meaning that they use stories as a way to look beyond just the current moment that you're in and the pain that you're having, to tracing back to other things, to talking about how you feel, to the way that we started this session today, asking you, stopping and asking how you truly feel, right? And then using stories as a way to connect between practitioners. So when somebody else would come in and they'd be with the patient, that patient would be able to, there'd be a cohesive narrative. And so the project that started as this installation, it started as a way for my dad and I to connect, and for him, for me and for our family to kind of go through this very painful kind of grief and loss, is now making its way into becoming an empathetic healing space. And we're experimenting with ways to bring it into Columbia Medical, which means that inciting incident of a lack of empathy and care has led to a collaboration between my father and I that has had all these other people who have stepped into it. But the end result will be us taking it to the university and using it within hospitals to help try to prevent that initial inciting incident that we experienced. And so the power of what stories can do, and the way that when you open yourself up and you're vulnerable, it allows people to be vulnerable too. And that vulnerability is something that I honestly believe can make true impact in the world. And so the work that I do in my own practice and the work that we do at Columbia University at the Digital Storytelling Lab looks to explore new forms and functions of storytelling. And forms being things like artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things, virtual reality, augmented reality, any new emergent technology. But the functions are this idea of how can we use storytelling for healing? How can we use it for learning? How can we use it for mobilization? How can we use it to connect? And I think for the longest time, our narratives have been co-opted by other people. They've been taken for a variety of different reasons, political reasons, capitalistic reasons. And now we're in this unique moment to reclaim those narratives and to be able to have shared narratives that we can all be a part of. I was very heartened yesterday. I went to a memorial service for George Floyd, and there were so many people. I mean, it was a drive thing. You would drive through a memorial for him. There were literally, it took over 2.5 hours to go 2 miles. 2.5 hours to go 2 miles. There were thousands of cars that were there. And I live outside of Philadelphia. I live in a kind of a small place, but people came from all over to come to that. And so I was very heartened by that, because I think if we take the time to actually listen, actively, truly listen to each other, then something wonderful can come from it. So I want to thank you for listening to me today. And I want to, I'm thrilled and heartwarmed to be here.
Thank you, Lance. Thank you so much for being here and for contributing in such a profound way, both to this community and to this broader community that you're a part of. And I was just really struck as you're sharing, as we talked about at the very beginning, but the way that in your own life, that facing death and actually grappling with it the impact of that didn't just stop at that moment, but is continuing on to create more and more beauty in the world and more positive change. And I think that is another lesson that I want to take from you, and is a hopefulness that I feel that if we can all do that right now together for what we're experiencing, then we can keep creating the type of beauty that you're creating, but on this like social global scale. So thanks for inspiring us so much, Lance. And I know Dara posted in the chat links to the events that you're going to be putting on with Reimagine. And I can't wait. I think we should all go to those events, because it's really beautiful to hear what's come out of this work of yours and that experience. And with that, everyone, please share in the chat again your gratitude for Lance. And I'm going to share with everyone in a second what questions we're going to talk about in relation to what Lance shared with us. But first, I want to explain, for those of you who are new, what it is that we're about to do. We're going to move into some togetherness circles. There's going to be a moderator that's going to be selected among you by whoever is wearing the brightest shirt. So if you were in Lance's group, he would likely be the moderator. And we encourage active listening. So one person will answer the daily questions, then the next person, et cetera, et cetera. You'll be seeing some broadcast messages that will cue you around what the questions are. If you have extra time, you guys can chat as a group. At the end, if you feel like exchanging contact information with one another, that's great. You can use the chat to do that. But of course, that's not required. There's been some fabulous relationships that have been born in these small group conversations. And if you run into a problem, please contact us at hello@letsreimagine.org, or you can leave that breakout room and come back to the main room. Our guidelines: please keep the conversations confidential. This is a special safe space to share your story without offering unsolicited advice or judgments. You always have a right to pass or remain silent. Or please keep your responses to 3 minutes to make space for others to share. So thank you. And with that, when you introduce yourselves in the groups, share where you're calling in from and your name, and a time when you've experienced a lack of empathy and why. Was it from a person, a community, an organization, or a system? Where did you experience a lack of empathy, and what was going on there? Why? And then share a time when you did experience empathy. So let's dig into that together and just see what comes up as we kind of explore empathy together. And with that, there's going to be what we now delightfully call the whisk. Someone's going to push a button. We're going to be whisked away into the cyber corners of the internet.
And I'm about to do that. I just want to address the question from Sheila Merle about how we can get more information about Lance's project. We will include links in the follow-up email, and also if Lance is still on the call and wants to paste something, that would be great. I'm about to whisk.
All right, see you guys back here in the